I don't think I ever planned on telling this story. Even now, writing this, part of me is saying, just leave it alone, Eli. But something happened a few months ago that shook me in a way I wasn't ready for, and now I can't sleep, can't focus, can't stop running through everything in my head. So here it is. 5 years ago, I was kicked out of my home in Greenville, South Carolina. Not because I did something illegal, not because I hurt anyone, but because I told my parents I didn't believe in the path of light, the religious sect I was born into. They didn't argue. They didn't cry. They just stared at me for a long time like I died right in front of them. And then my mother said, quietly, the world will consume you. We renounce your name. That was it. Just like that. They gave me 2 trash bags with clothes, no ID, no money, no shoes. They made me leave in the middle of the night. I walked 6 miles barefoot to a gas station, bleeding through my socks. I remember the guy behind the counter asking if I was okay. I lied and said I just had a fight with my girlfriend. He gave me a free coffee anyway. I drank it outside, sitting on the curb, staring at my reflection in the gas station window. I looked like a ghost. Pale, hollow, empty in the eyes. I was 17. There was no dramatic exit. No final confrontation. Just silence. Like I'd been erased. And in that silence, the only thing that kept me from losing it completely was this tiny wooden owl I had in my pocket. My little sister, Emily, carved it for me the week before I left. She said owls keep secrets. I carried that thing everywhere. I still do. Emily was 11 when I left. The night before, she came into my room after everyone was asleep. She didn't cry. She just sat on the floor and started braiding a piece of yarn from one of her blankets. I heard them talking, she whispered. They're going to make you leave. I couldn't say anything. I just nodded. She handed me the owl. If you take this with you, you have to come back. I told her I would. But I didn't. I got out. Scraped my way into real life. Worked night shifts. Slept in a garage. Took GED classes. Eventually found a therapist who didn't flinch when I said I used to get punished for reading library books. Slowly, painfully, I started building a life. Moved to Charlotte. Got a place. Started community college. Studied psychology, I guess trying to figure out how people like my parents could believe what they believe. But I didn't talk about it. Not to anyone. Not really. I told new people my family lived overseas. Or that we weren't close. It was easier than trying to explain the compound, the silence rooms, the ritual confessions, or why I flinched when someone prayed over food. And I never heard from Emily. Not once. Not a birthday card. Not a whisper. I told myself she probably forgot about me. Or was too young. Or, worse, believed what they told her about me. Until 3 months ago. I came home from class to find a plain white envelope slid under my apartment door. No name. No return address. Just my name on the front, written in this tiny, familiar handwriting I hadn't seen in 5 years. Inside, there was one sentence. How did you escape? E. That's all it said. My legs gave out. I sat on the floor with the envelope in my hands for what felt like an hour. It didn't even make sense. I didn't know how she found me. I didn't know if it was real. But the handwriting, the little loop in the D, the way she dotted the I, low and tight, it was her. It was Emily. I should have been excited. Relieved. Instead, I was terrified. Because if she reached out, it meant something was wrong. Something was happening. And she didn't know where to go. I barely slept that night. I just sat on the couch, staring at the owl on the bookshelf, turning the envelope over in my hands. Over and over again. I kept hearing her voice in my head. That tiny whisper from the night I left. You have to come back. But how do you go back to a place that tried to erase you? The next morning, I called in sick. I don't even remember what I told them. Probably something about food poisoning. Whatever. I wasn't going to class. I wasn't doing homework. I wasn't eating. All I could think about was that note. I sat at my tiny kitchen table with the envelope in front of me like it might start talking. Like maybe if I stared long enough, it'd give me something more. A clue. An address. Anything. But there was nothing. Just that question. How did you escape? I kept whispering it out loud like it would change if I said it a certain way. Then around 2 p.m., I remembered something. Emily and I had this hiding place when we were kids. Behind the tool shed at the edge of the fields. That was our spot. It was where we buried stupid time capsules, passed secret notes, hid our contraband candy, basically anything we didn't want found. We called it the nothing box. I think we liked the idea that some part of our life existed outside the compound. That was the only place I could think of that she might still be using. It was a long shot, yeah, but it was something. So I drove back. Back to Greenville. Back to the place I swore I'd never see again. I parked a mile away from the compound and cut through the woods on foot, just like I used to when I'd sneak out for air as a teenager. And when I got to the shed, there it was. Half collapsed, overgrown with ivy, but still standing. And behind it, buried under a rock where we used to hide everything, was a rusted Altoids tin. Inside, a wooden carving. An owl. My throat closed up. It was hers. No question. She remembered. I sat there on my knees, holding it in my palm, and I couldn't stop shaking. She was trying to talk to me. This wasn't just a question. It was a door she was opening and trusting I'd walk through it. I had brought something too. A boat. A tiny wooden one. Carved it years ago during one of the loneliest weeks of my life. Emily used to say boats meant freedom. If you ever leave, she told me once, send me a boat. So I put it in the tin with a note. I got out. I can help you. If you want to leave, I'll be back here in 3 days. Leave a sign. I buried it again. Covered it. Took one last look at the shed. And ran. The drive back to Charlotte felt like I was being watched the whole time. I checked my mirrors obsessively. My heart never slowed down. I kept expecting someone to pull me over. Ask me what I was doing. Drag me back. Back to the silence room. That night, I dreamed about it. The silence room. They made you stand facing the wall for hours, whispering repentance until your legs went numb. No crying. No shifting. Just that cold breath of the elder behind you, waiting for you to falter. I woke up drenched in sweat, my throat sore from clenching it in my sleep. For the next 2 days, I couldn't think straight. I kept the owl on my desk and turned it over in my hands every hour. I didn't tell anyone. Didn't post. Didn't talk to my therapist. I didn't want anyone telling me this was a bad idea. Because yeah, it was a bad idea. But it was also the only one I had. On the 3rd night, I went back. Same time. Same route. My hands were shaking worse this time. My shoes were soaked from the grass. It had rained earlier, and the air smelled like wet dirt and moldy wood. I dug the tin out with bare hands. The boat was gone. In its place, another carving. Another boat, but cracked down the middle and glued back together. Sloppy. Raw. Rushed. And beneath it, a note. I'm ready. They're watching me. I don't know how long I can wait. I don't even remember standing up. I don't remember getting back to the car. All I remember is sitting behind the wheel, gripping that cracked little boat, crying so hard I couldn't breathe. It wasn't a dramatic sob. Just this tight, broken thing in my chest that finally snapped. The kind of cry you don't make sounds during. Just gasps. Like your body's trying to wring something out of you and nothing comes. She was still in there. She was still inside that place. But she was ready. So I made a call. When I was living in a shelter after I escaped, I met a guy named Marcus. Ex-cult. Real quiet. I was like he'd seen too much. He gave me a burner number once and said, if someone ever needs out, call me. Don't wait. I didn't even know if it still worked. But I called. And he answered. Marcus answered on the 2nd ring. His voice was slower than I remembered. Rougher. Like gravel in a tin can. Eli. I almost didn't recognize it. I almost hung up. But I said his name. He didn't ask how I got the number. Didn't ask why I waited so long. He just said, who is it this time? My sister, I told him. There was a pause. Not silence. I could hear cars in the background. Wind. He was driving somewhere. How old? 16. Another pause. Then, and she's still inside? Yeah, but she's ready. She wants out. And the group. You know how they are. He sighed. Long sharp. All right. I've got people. We don't do miracles, but we do extractions. He gave me a name, Carla. Said she was reliable. A clean driver, good at staying invisible. She'd meet me at a rest stop off I-85 midnight. I'd bring the plan. She'd bring the route. Then he said something that chilled me. Eli, if she's reaching out now, it means something changed. And if they're watching her, they're watching you too. I know, I said. But the truth? I didn't. I didn't know how bad that part would get. The next few days were a blur of shaky planning. I bought a burner phone. Clean clothes. Flashlight. First aid. Wrote and rewrote a map she could understand. No names, just the symbols we used as kids. Trees, stars, lines. I even drew the cracked boat on the corner so she'd know it was me. I went back one last time to the hiding place and left everything in the tin. The final instructions. Midnight. East fence line. The old silos. Wear black. Don't bring anything. Just yourself. And I left the owl. Not the one she gave me. That one never leaves my pocket. I carved a new one. Smaller. Rougher. But still an owl. A promise. The night of the extraction, I couldn't stop pacing. I kept checking the bag. The time. The bag again. I don't know what I expected. Maybe her not showing up. Maybe me getting caught. Maybe God himself showing up and saying, "What the hell are you doing, Eli?" Carla pulled up in this beat-up silver SUV. She looked tired. Late 30s, maybe. Ball cap pulled low. Hands that looked like they'd done drywall and buried people in the same day. "You Eli," she said. "Yeah. You ready?" "No." She nodded like she got it. Like nobody ever really is. We drove in silence most of the way. Only music was the low hum of the tires. "You know she might not make it," Carla said at one point. "It's not a failure if she freezes. It's trauma." I didn't answer. I didn't want to think about that. I just kept looking out the window, gripping the seat so tight my fingers cramped. We parked half a mile out from the silos. Killed the engine. Waited. 11:30. Nothing. 11:45. Still nothing. Carla didn't say a word. Just sat still, I scanning the dark. Then, I saw her. She was just a shadow at first, coming through the trees. Slow. Like she was trying not to wake the forest. My whole body locked up. My lungs forgot how to breathe. It was her. I would have known that shape anywhere. I jumped out before Carla could stop me and ran toward her. She didn't run back. She just stood there, frozen. When I reached her, she flinched, not because she didn't know me, but because she was still expecting someone else. Still braced for punishment. I stopped a foot away. "It's me," I said. She didn't answer. Then, finally, she reached forward and grabbed my hoodie like she needed to make sure I was real. I pulled her into a hug. She didn't hug back, not really. But she didn't pull away either. Her hair smelled like smoke and something metallic. Her wrist had bruises. Her lip was cracked. "I got you," I whispered. "We're leaving." She looked over my shoulder at the road behind me. "Are they coming?" she asked. I didn't answer. Because I didn't know. We got her in the car. Carla handed her a bottle of water and a protein bar. She didn't touch either. Just curled up in the seat, gripping the straps of her backpack like they were keeping her together. Back on the road, I glanced in the mirror and caught her reflection. She looked older. Not just physically inside. Like part of her had burned up in there. Like she'd aged too fast and too quietly. When we crossed the state line, she whispered, "They let me go." Carla raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "They saw me leave," Emily said. "They just stood there." My blood turned cold. Carla didn't take her eyes off the road. "Why would they let you go?" Emily looked at me, and then said, quietly, "Because they wanted to follow you." I didn't say anything at first. Just stared straight ahead. Because the moment she said it, "They wanted to follow you," something deep inside me just snapped. Not in a dramatic way. Not even loud. It was more like the floor inside me gave out. Like everything I thought I understood about what was happening got pulled out from under me. They'd let her go. Because they didn't want her. They wanted me. I could feel it now, this slow, creeping thing behind my ribs. That awful sensation I used to get when I was a kid and they'd call me in front of the elders. That quiet, loaded silence that always came before the punishment. The waiting. The knowing. "Keep driving," I said to Carla, even though she already was. She didn't ask questions. She didn't have to. She'd seen this before, people getting baited. Tracked. Lured. Emily was silent in the backseat. She was curled up like she'd shrunk 2 sizes since getting in the car. Her backpack still clutched in her lap. Like it was all she had left of herself. That was the moment I realized. She wasn't safe just because she was out. None of us were. At the next gas station, Carla pulled off without saying a word. She left the car running and got out, talking low into a burner phone near the ice machine. I sat frozen in the passenger seat, watching the shadows on the pavement stretch and shift under the gaslights. I turned to Emily. "You sure they saw you?" She didn't look up. Just nodded. "Who?" She hesitated. "Dad." My stomach clenched so hard it made me nauseous. "What did he do?" Another pause. Then, he just stood there, on the porch, watching me go. He didn't say anything. That doesn't make sense. She finally looked at me. He didn't need to. Her eyes were too calm, too empty. It was like whatever had been burning inside her had already gone out. And then she said, he smiled. The air left my lungs. I could feel my heartbeat in my teeth. He smiled. That wasn't permission. That was possession. That was him knowing he'd already won something. Carla came back. opened the driver's side door, and tossed a phone at me. Marcus wants to talk to you. I held it to my ear, hand shaking. Where are you? Marcus asked. No hello. Just that. Near Columbia, I said. Get off the highway. Don't go to the safe house. What? Why? There was a break-in at the shelter last night. No cops. Just broken locks. Empty beds. They didn't take anything. Just wanted to send a message. They're already this far? They're watching your routes, Eli. How? I could hear him sigh. It wasn't a tired sigh. It was that quiet sound people make when they don't want to tell you what they're about to say. You told anyone else you reached out? No. Any old emails? Accounts? Posts? I opened my mouth, and then it hit me. I had emailed myself a photo of the owl carving. Just for myself. Just to keep it. One of my old burner Gmail accounts. I hadn't used it in years, but I hadn't closed it either. I felt the blood drain from my face. I think I messed up. Yeah, Marcus said. You did. My fingers went numb. I looked over at Emily again. She had her knees pulled up to her chest now, head against the window, watching the trees flash by like she didn't care where we were going. Like she'd already accepted this would never end. That was when the adrenaline crashed. I felt it all at once, the panic, the exhaustion, the cold, ugly shame. I wanted to scream, or drive into a wall, or curl up in the back seat and sleep for a year. Instead, I just whispered the only thing I could think to say. I'm sorry. Emily didn't answer, but she reached up and tugged the sleeve of my hoodie. Just once. That was all. Just enough to say, I'm still here. Carla took a new road, a winding back route through old logging towns and truck stop graveyards. We didn't talk much. Didn't need to. Every car that passed made my skin crawl. At one point, I looked in the mirror and thought I saw headlights that stayed behind us for too long. But they turned off eventually. Or maybe they didn't. I don't even know anymore. The new safe house wasn't even a house. It was a trailer in the middle of a burned field. No windows. No mailbox. No names. Just a folding chair outside and a man with a shotgun resting on his knee. He looked at Emily. Then looked at me. Then back to Carla. This them? He asked. Carla nodded. He opened the door. Get in. You're not leaving again for a while. Emily moved first. Her feet shuffled in the dirt. She paused at the steps, reached down into her bag, and pulled out the owl I gave her. She didn't say anything. She just held it in her palm, like a question she still hadn't figured out how to ask. We stayed in that trailer for 6 weeks. There were no windows. No clocks. No mirrors. Just 4 walls, a table, 2 beds, and a bathroom the size of a closet. The lights flickered when the generator hiccuped, which was often. The water tasted like metal. Sometimes I'd wake up to the sound of coyotes screaming in the distance, and for a split second, I'd think it was someone calling her back. We barely spoke the first week. Emily spent most of her time curled up on the far bed, facing the wall. She'd sketch sometimes, using a pencil stub and the backs of old receipts Carla left in her bag. She drew birds mostly, but not owls. Never owls. She'd stopped looking me in the eye. I thought she hated me. I didn't blame her. Sometimes I'd sit at the table at 3 a.m., watching her back rise and fall with her breath, just to make sure she was still real. Still there. I'd hold the original owl carving in my hand and wonder if I'd done the right thing. Not just with her. With any of it. Sometimes I thought about going back. Just walking up to the gates and giving them what they wanted. Take me. Let her go. And other nights, I thought about disappearing completely. Changing my name. Moving to a state where no one had ever even heard of the path of light. Starting over from scratch. Again. But mostly, I just waited. Waited for her to say something. Anything. It finally happened one afternoon. She was sitting at the table, sketching, while I made coffee. She said, without looking up, do you think they ever really believed it? Mom and Dad. I froze, holding the mug halfway to my mouth. I think, I said slowly, they needed to. Because the truth would have destroyed them. She looked up. Truth didn't destroy them, she said. It destroyed us. There wasn't an answer to that. She pushed her drawing across the table toward me. It was a sketch of a boat, cracked in half, floating in a river. On the riverbank, a child standing alone, holding a tiny owl in one hand. I swallowed. Do you remember the last thing you said to me? She asked. No. You said, if I can, I'll come back. I laughed under my breath. Bitter. Yeah. And you said owls keep secrets. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. They do, she said. But they don't fix anything. And I don't know what came over me, but I reached across the table and grabbed her hand. She flinched. Just a little. I'm not a fix, I said. I'm not even close. But I'm here. And I'm not going anywhere. She didn't pull away. Just squeezed my fingers once, quick and uncertain, like muscle memory. Then let go. A few days later, we moved again. Another safe house, this time in Colorado. The people there were quiet. Kind. They gave us real clothes. Real food. Asked us what names we wanted to go by. I picked Eli. Again. She picked June. When I asked her why, she said, it's the month everything ended. So maybe it can be the month something starts. That's when I knew she was going to be okay. Not immediately. Not cleanly. But eventually. We've been here for 3 months now. She's in therapy. Enrolled in school under her new name. She has a favorite hoodie, soft gray with a tiny stitched bird over the heart. I catch her smiling sometimes when she thinks no one's looking. And sometimes, she still cries at night. But she doesn't cry alone. Last week, a package showed up at the shelter. No return address. No note. Just a plain brown box. Inside was a photograph. It was old. Black and white. Slightly blurry. Me, kneeling in the grass behind the shed, holding the tin. And behind me, in the shadows, the silhouette of a man. Watching. I didn't show it to Emily. I just sat on the back porch that night, holding it in one hand, the owl in the other. I thought about burning it. I still might. But for now, it stays in a drawer. Because sometimes the things that haunt you are the same things that prove you survived. And I guess that's all I'm trying to say here. I got out. She followed. We're still breathing. And maybe that's not the happy ending people want. But it's the only kind we get sometimes.